Good evening. I would like to open the meeting of the Opioid Settlement Fund Advisory Committee on January 20th, 2026, starting at 6, it looks like 6:12. I would like to first do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, so an announcement under Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20F. This meeting is being recorded. I'd like to start the meeting to review the minutes. Are there any questions about the minutes or changes to the minutes for November 18th? If not, I would like a motion to approve.
So moved.
Okay, a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor? Aye. All right, so it's been approved. Okay. All right, so now that Val has caught her breath, I wanted her to go over the review of accomplishments. At our last meeting in November, we went a little overtime, so we didn't really get a chance to discuss them or to have Val present it. I just handed them out to everyone. So I would like her to kind of review all of that with us now.
Sure. And I reprinted, I don't know if people brought it from last time. We printed that. I think it's like,
Is it the same as the,
it's
A little
slightly
different.
modified, but it's basically the
The
same.
reason I wanted to do this was because we didn't get a chance to discuss it. But I also, again, beginning of the year, want to look at what we've done and then where we're going. So, Val, go ahead.
So I recap the past. I mean, just really to see in our first year what we did. I won't go through every detail, but just the beginning is a summary, and then starting on, it's actually page 3, but the numbering started wrong. The table includes a brief summary of each of our meetings through October, November, this most recent November. So, you know, we have developed a plan and made a process to figure out how we're going to fund. It's still being finalized, but that's its own accomplishment. And then we've gathered input from local professional experts, 8 different professional experts to come and present at the meeting, what they're seeing, what they recommend. We listened to residents who came and spoke, and also did a number of things to get input from community residents, having a focus group for town residents with special outreach to the schools, created, distributed, and analyzed surveys for providers, for the general public at the Westport Police Department National Night Out. Took steps in particular to get input from people with lived experience, which continue, but visiting local recovery support meetings to discuss needs directly with participants, developed a survey that a Westport counselor shared with her clients from Westport, and that STAR will distribute among their clients from Westport. We also did some things to raise awareness of our work through National Night Out and an article in Shorelines, and then drafted the RFP that we are currently reviewing. And that's not every single detail, but kind of a summary of what we've done in the area of getting input, expert input, residents' input, and getting out and about, and deciding how we're going to do this work. Some themes, and this is kind of subjective from, I put keywords. If anybody wants to help me finish putting keywords into the, you know, I made a document that includes all of this, sort of the surveys, the input from the experts, and I'm coding it so that we can just pull out themes easily. And so this is based on what I've completed so far with that, and then just rereading the content. But it's not meant to be, it's a sampling. The first handful of things are definitely strongly repeated. And I know you have a list as well from focus group, Donna. So across all those different forms of input, it seemed like one of the top things was definitely improving access to treatment. That had a number of dimensions, ideally in Westport, but particularly addressing affordability and transportation. Sort of related to that, also better navigation. So how can people find out about and get to treatment? What's the right treatment for them? Where do they even start? Schools getting more mental health support, substance misuse counseling or support, connection to resources instead of disciplinary action, more support and education for families. This is, I think, across all ages, so they can cope and support a family member with substance use disorder, improve prevention education in schools, and more positive activities for youth. Sort of related, more recovery support for people working to keep their sobriety and live in recovery, more meetings, having dedicated spaces or spaces where meetings and activities can happen, more activities that are sober or substance-free across age groups. And I highlighted some of these that particularly came up among people with lived experience. Access to treatment was one of them. More recovery support and sober activities in town. That was particularly came up in the input from people with lived experience. Access in town to harm reduction resources like Narcan and fentanyl test strips came up again, particularly with people with lived experience of addiction. Reducing stigma came up, particularly among people with lived experience. I had these printed a long way. Okay, I guess that was, and that was the summary. Again, that's not every single thing, but it was highlights. And I don't know if you want me to walk through it. I mean, I don't think it makes sense to go through every detail, but what you can see quickly here is like, who did we, when did we hear from police? When did we hear from so-and-so? And I did a couple of minor summaries maybe of something they said. Obviously, there's more detail in the notes, and I tried to capture that in a separate document that has all the input that we've gotten so far. But a few highlights in here in comments, either on the process or on some of the comments or suggestions of the people. When we did surveys, when people came back and reported on input, some of our administrative decisions, some of the data that we received from police on, overdoses in Westport. So is that sufficient, Madam Chair, for, I don't think it's meaningful to walk through each meeting and recap it, but it's a reference tool and also a little bit of a chance to reflect on, we've done a lot, I think. Certainly more to do, but I got up and running, got a lot of input, more to do, but finalize this RFP and get it out, and a lot of process issues that we're still working with and living under, but I have to say, in putting this together, I thought, oh, we've done a lot.
Are there any questions or comments for Val?
I have a comment. This is a lot of work involved in this, and it would probably be helpful if you could post it on the website. I mean, it may need formatting, but so people in the town could see the work of the committee, and especially for people who are going to be applying for funds, they could see some of the topics that, it would be.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I'd love to do that also with that other document that is everybody's input, compiling all the input, just maybe without the coding, or maybe if anybody, I know you're a data person, if everybody wants to help with the coding or take a look at it and make any suggestions, that might go hand in hand with this and also the RFP.
Okay, good. Any other comments or thoughts about what Val has pulled together for us? I find one of the things that'll be very helpful is when we have any kind of review with the state that I have something concrete to share with them to say, here's something that we've pulled together to show you what we've accomplished. So that was my initial purpose of that was so that we could show.
Reporting.
Yes, yes. And I didn't have to report on all those details when I did the financial report, but certainly that will, if there's any question of us following the abatement agreement, we can show that, yes, in fact, we did. And that was the first thing on in the abatement agreement, community input. So it shows our process. So thank you for doing that.
Thank you, Val.
Yeah, the next is the review of the community input and priorities, and Val addressed them, but I also handed out a copy of what David pulled together from, in the survey. All the information is right here in this nice notebook that David put together of all the surveys that were done, and then the summary. But what I wanted to do was just to go over and look at the top areas, because they also coincide with, if I find it, some of what was discussed in the focus group. Certainly, the areas that were at the top were education for families so that they can support children with mental health and/or substance use issues. They scored 29 people had that as important. And the next one was less stigma about mental health issues and substance use. 28 people responded that was a need. And then the next one was understanding and help to get treatment at school instead of being expelled or punished. And then the next one was mentorship for someone who is in recovery and has been through similar issues. So there are some particular areas that we can really focus on based on the survey. But also, the focus group summary, which I also handed out, that there's some of the same focus and importance was expressed in that meeting as well, that focus group that Pam and I did in the beginning. And then there were questions to consider based on what the results showed, the focus group. What collaborative efforts can be made between the town, local organizations, and healthcare providers to improve access to recovery resources and support services in Westport? And the reason why I have these questions is then that can then help us focus on those particular issues as well. What specific resources or programs could be implemented to address the mental health and substance use challenges faced by students and their families in Westport schools? And then how can we effectively engage more community members in the support of individuals and families struggling with mental health and substance use disorders? That was the summary of what we discussed in the focus group. These are the areas that seem to be important to address. And in asking those questions and answering them, that we may be able to more clearly define where we want to go with, if we were going to make any changes in the RFP, how we would want to focus the RFP. What is the priority? So I put that on the agenda for discussion. The community input and priorities that we have heard, how do you think, as a committee, we should proceed with our RFP and whether we should make any changes? That's what was going to be discussed in the next section. But is there any focus that the committee needs to take in order to pull in requests for funding for programs?
I mean,
To
is there
narrow
more
it down.
information that we need? Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I just was asking for clarification of what you're asking, if there's more information that we need, or if we want, can you just clarify the task you
Well, I think the task is I'm trying to narrow down.
Got it. It's narrowing.
It's narrowing, our focus. I mean, our RFP is really all-inclusive when we look at it, right? And that was one of the things that Jim said to me, that the town administrator before Mr. Vitale, he said, it's so broad, is there a way to narrow it so that when we're getting requests for proposals, we're really meeting the immediate priorities? And so that's what I'm wanting to do, is to think about, is there a way, based on the survey results, especially this survey, to narrow down what our focus would be in the RFP? And whether or not anyone, if you all don't think we need to do anything different, but I wanted to discuss these priorities, that the input we got from people in our community.
Well, I think that, first of all, the sampling we got on August 5th was very small, and it was somewhat biased, because it was biased towards people who are willing to go to police night out. And secondly, I don't think that we need to narrow the RFP, because it should allow for all 8 categories that are specified in the abatement law. And I think that we don't know who's out there, really, who would apply. So I think it should be very broad, because the idea is that we'll advertise, and people will see what's going on the website. Hopefully, they'll know something about what's going on in town, and we'll find out about them when they apply for funding. So I think it should be, I don't see the need to narrow it. I think it should continue to be as broad as it is. And I don't think it's our role to narrow it until we see who applies. We can always not fund proposals
Right.
for reasons, So we should have a broad net.
I mean, I think, to me, it's a both and. I think, as we talked about before, having all of those priorities in the RFP and accepting anything that meets those criteria, while including something about, here's what we found. I mean, I think we have limited data, really we have learned things. I wouldn't discount that, but I would actually, it would take some more time to really meaningfully, like the process of my coding is trying to narrow down. So I wouldn't just base it on the survey. Like, to
Okay.
me, if we look at the data we've got, we have to look at, there's like 6 sources. One category is all the expert input, because we've had all these professionals come in and talk to us. So that has to be part of the data we consider. Another is the focus group that you did at the beginning. Another is the survey from the police night out. I don't know if we've heard back from any providers, but the people with lived experience from the recovery groups who you spoke to, that was maybe over 3 different groups, I don't know, 20 people, I don't know, 15 people, whatever that is, that group. One other source. Oh, the counselor, Dana Desmarais, who brought the survey to her clients, and that was maybe 6 or 7, I think all but one maybe lived in Westport. So it's still limited, but it is more comprehensive. So we could potentially distill some priorities within that. Ultimately, I think we should do that. But an interim approach would be to link to it, kind of list some of the findings, highlight, like I tried to highlight some. We were particularly interested in proposals that address, whatever, we pick whatever, or anything in, or that are related to some of these concerns that residents brought up, and then can give people a link to the actual sort of compendium of the surveys. So I think we want to have a broad net, but also a way to direct people to, like, here's what we heard, but I would include more sources than those 2 only. And I think maybe we can go forward with that, a little bit of narrowing plus the broad net in the RFP, while continuing our understanding of what we've learned and continuing to get more input, so that as we go forward, we can keep making sharper decisions.
Pam, Fran, do you have any thoughts? I mean, just about the way you're compiling the data is very much how I compiled my entry plan. So my entry plan is just about listening, and I have all these data sources, different types of data sources. And I am certainly, I mean, I got the PhD, so I did my own
Coding.
qualitative, right? I've done that, but I also used I used a Claude AI
I didn't even think.
to
of
help
that,
me
really. Yeah,
with that. And that
Maybe I should
was,
talk with you about it.
yeah, I think maybe I'm saying we
Okay,
should talk
okay.
because it became an iterative process of being able to ask questions of the data, right? So
Interesting.
we can continue to do that, but because the data, I mean, is there a plan to learn more? Because if not, this is kind of what we got.
I mean, in my opinion, yes.
Okay.
STAR, we still haven't finalized with STAR their survey of clients. But I think we can continue on
Yeah.
and add that in, and we can use that maybe when we're making decisions rather than wait for
So,
the
yeah,
RFP.
but you and I can certainly connect,
Yeah.
and I can, it's very easy, and it'll take into account everything that you've already done.
May I ask a question? You mentioned that STAR is going to provide us with a survey of the Westport clientele.
Yeah, well, we drafted a survey and then negotiated with them, but it, kind of went back and forth. And then when school started, when students came back in September, I couldn't spend as much time with it, so it's sort of been on ice since then. Wrong, bad term, but, not inactive. But they agreed, and then we offered them a modest stipend to give it to their providers, to post it all around their facility. And they identified in their Medicaid-assisted treatment 60 Westport residents alone, so that they have a very focused way to reach residents of Westport in client there, and that's only their MAT program. So it's very efficient. It just needs me or someone else to kind of take it over the finish line, with Jennifer there.
Who's your contact there?
Jen Ferreira.
Oh, okay.
I can share the contact info and make an e-connection if you
Well,
want to pick up the thread or any, but yeah, I mean, it's sort of poised. I thought it was worth a fresh look at the survey too. Maybe we'd have different thoughts about it now than in August. But.
well, I think that would be very, very important if STAR would cooperate to give us any information about the Westport clientele. That would be in my opinion,
Good idea.
the most important
Yeah.
data that we could get, because these are people who
Exactly.
were under treatment,
Yeah.
and it would tell us a lot about the ecology of the problem, the epidemiology of the problem, and it would be gold for us.
Yeah, I agree.
If we could get it, before we start, well,
Making decisions.
before we start entertaining a proposal from STAR, because STAR will
They should know.
certainly be applying for funding to us. And I don't know what they would apply for yet, obviously, but we should get that information if we can.
And one of the things that is holding us back is not having someone to follow through with all of these things and manage all of these things. So the idea of Val works full-time, she's trying to do this and interact with STAR, and other people have jobs and lives. We're not paid to do this. This is a volunteer. So that those things are holding us up a bit. We already talked about, yes, we would provide some funding to STAR for the mailing, if they were going to do a mailing and all of that. So
Mailing was part of it. I think it was also just the time to send it to all their providers. And
yeah,
whatnot.
so
Combo.
that's some of it, and that's one of the topics that we're going to be talking about in a little bit. But it's all important stuff, but to have somebody who's going to be spearheading this and that's their job would be an important thing. So on that note, we are reviewing the community input and priorities and having some discussion about whether or not the RFP needs any adjustments. based on the data that we've received, and does it seem like everybody's okay with not making any changes, as David suggested, until we continue to collect data?
Slight variation, just that I
Okay.
think one version of it, we had something in there, and I didn't see it in the last version, saying, kind of just what I said, like, we have gotten community input, we are particularly interested in applications that address the needs expressed by residents. We can choose to highlight some or not, and that's kind of, I mean, ideally, we would have some suggested, but it could link to, a kind of cleaned up version of all the input, and maybe that
Yeah.
could be summarized. The findings from that, I mean, it's true with ChatGPT or some kind of AI help to sort of synthesize. That would probably be good. So at least a sentence or two and a link, and potentially a few bullets. Not to say we wouldn't accept anything in the broader categories, but say we're particularly interested in these because it's based on Westport residents.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you're looking for somebody to contact Jen and to try to see where we're at with that.
I think the ball was stuck in my court, honestly, so I'm happy for anybody else to take it, but I
Yeah.
wouldn't put it on her. We had a.
No, I'm saying
The
if,
beginning was on her, and now it's on me.
but I could at least make a call to Jen and see
Great.
where she's going with if she's
If they-
done anything
if
with
they
it.
have capacity
And
to-
personally, I just don't like the idea of it going through the mail. I think, because I think it's not going to come back to us. People just don't.
Well, I think we had brainstormed a few things. I can look back at my most recent notes, and that was one version. I think the latest one was actually that they would make it available to clients, but also to the providers of those clients to potentially either do with clients or, something that was a little more direct and in person. So there were a few things that they had ideas about. So I think you're right, but that's part of what needs to be nailed down.
Okay. So we still need to collect more input from community members, and we're going to work on that, particularly through STAR. Is there any other group that we need to continue to get in for? I still want to get more input from parents and students at school.
Right, I mean, I can put this through to all our parents, if this is the survey we want to go to families. It can be the same,
There may be some adjustments on
Okay.
that.
Okay, if you want, yeah, I mean,
You can
that's
look at it,
easy
and we can
enough.
talk about making any changes or adjustments, but, yeah, we could, there's probably some families that have already filled that out, but
Right,
that's,
yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, you had how many people filled it out originally?
did we have 50? No, I wrote it down, it's on the list. 40 responses,
Okay, yeah.
which was, we only had at the focus group, I think there were 6 residents, and there were a couple of other people there from outside of Westport. And then when we sent out the survey to medical folks, we sent over 30, I want to say 36, and we got 2 back? Something like 2 back, yeah. We didn't get a good response.
I mean, if, this looks okay to me. I mean, we would get, I would imagine I'd get quite a few responses, as long as I can do it as an easy link kind of thing.
Okay.
I mean, it's only 4 questions, right? This is the whole thing?
Yeah, and then there was room for people to fill in
Okay,
some ideas, because
I-
there's a question at the end.
4 questions is doable. We'll get more responses.
So do you think you can put
Yeah.
that through too, and say, and do a little introduction about the
Yep,
funding?
mhm,
and-
Yep, and what we're trying to do, we're
Yeah.
trying to collect it. Yeah, I think it's probably a good idea.
Okay,
Yeah.
that would be great. Okay. Anywhere else we think we need to get info from, definitely from people who are with lived experience? And I know that Pam did some of that when she went to some AA meetings and interviewed some of the people there, but it wasn't really done in a formal way by having them fill out a survey or anything
Right.
like that. So I still haven't made it to, there is a group on Wednesdays now that's focused particularly, it's a Narcotics Anonymous meeting in Wednesday at the Grange. And I spoke to the, one of the people that runs the group, and I thought maybe I would try to go. I asked him how many people go, and he said sometimes 20? More,
I
and then
I
more?
could do that. I can.
Do you
I
want
don't
to
mind
see if you
doing
can
that.
go to
Yeah,
the
I've
meeting
been
on
to so many of
the
them.
Wednesday?
Yeah, I'll go to a Wednesday.
Okay.
Do you know what time the meeting starts?
I may have something.
Yeah, you can
written.
give me the contacts. too.
And I know it's posted, it got posted in town so that people would know about it.
It's an open meeting.
I believe it's
It
an open.
probably is, yeah, but it's NA, which is good, because all the ones I went to were AA.
Yeah, no, there, it was, I think it's someone, it's a couple. And their focus, they said they had, I couldn't believe how many people, it was over 20. But I'd have to look in my notes, because I kept notes when I spoke to him on the phone. So there's a number to call. We could verify,
yeah.
clarify whether or not it is open, an open meeting.
And whether they'd allow me to speak a little bit and ask them. Do you think we should have a written?
Well, I may have it at home, so I can call you and give you the information for you to call and
Sure.
speak to them. Very, very nice. I invited them to come and speak to us. However, he was concerned because he's trying to follow to the letter the guidelines. And I said, it's not anonymous, you're here and you're in public, and I think that's part of the issue, right? So he and his, I think it's his partner, said that they weren't going to come because of that. So, but happy to talk to us on the phone, and that the flyer that they have, there might be a flyer downstairs. The flyer that they have has the phone number, and that's what I call to find out more information, so. All right, anything else about any other data we need to collect? Okay, so let's discuss the next thing on the agenda, which is funding process and town department proposals. Because my understanding is that if, say, the school department or the police department want funds, they don't have to go through the RFP process. There's a different process. And so what I want to find out from, and have a discussion about this, is whether or not the committee feels that each department would have to go through the RFP process the same way as anyone else outside of our system.
I have a thought about that. I think that anybody who requests funding from this committee should submit a proposal, a written proposal that has the same kinds of parameters. Obviously, they don't have to provide their financial information. We know who they are if they're applying. But I feel very strongly that they should have a detailed proposal of what they want, and how much they want, what they want to do with it, and all that. So I think that any body who we recommend for funding should explain to us why they want the money and what they're going to do with it.
It should be the same, proposal format that we asked.
Yeah, and I don't think it's a lot to ask.
Okay. And I'm going to ask directly to Fran, because she presented to us last meeting. Well, it was basically the social and emotional developments in school settings, but Fran has presented to me that she'd like to have a position in the school and would require some commitment of funds from us in order to make this happen. So, so what are your thoughts about creating a proposal to present to the committee?
It's certainly, it's a valid point that we need to sort of back up why and how it's sustainable, like I do for any other grant that I apply for. So, I'm certainly fine with that.
What's your timing?
We're looking, what we're hoping to do, because we're going through budget right now, is to cost share this position, right? So that In the ideal world, we could get 50% of it paid here, 50% of it goes in the budget. Now, the question is, what if in sort of going through the town process, we don't get the funding that we need, right? And something has to go. Then I'd have to sort of rethink it all. So I can certainly do that, but I do have a question. Now, what was the reason behind why towns didn't need to go through the RFP process? There was something, right?
Yeah, Jim said something because we're already, it's a known entity.
Okay.
If the town wanted funds from like grant money, which is similar
Okay.
than our,
Yeah.
with our funding, the opioid settlement fund.
I mean, yeah.
They,
okay.
it's, the process isn't as detailed, that's what he told me. I also heard that from the state, at the state level, because I asked that question as well. But I'm going to ask the person in the room that I think knows better than we do. Bob, do you know anything about what's different about asking for a proposal in town?
It's because you're seeking funding from a public entity and not a private entity.
So it's not the same as filling out an RFP, that the people, say a department in town doesn't have to fill out an RFP.
Just like maybe the school department contract with the town, perform some accounting services for them. They come to an agreement, there's no RFP formal proposal. You create a memo of understanding.
A memo of, yeah.
Yeah.
Like an MOA, yeah.
That seems more straightforward if it's performing a kind of transactional service for another entity. I mean, I'm for a simple process. At the same time, I understand that it's kind of nice to have a consistent, like, that we could take a town department kind of at any point in time. To me, that makes sense, like, because we want to keep things moving and we want to work with town timelines. I mean, maybe there's a couple questions, yeah, a few questions we don't ask that are in the draft, but to have something that, you know, that you have a lot of the language for already.
Right,
basically,
right,
when you
for
present it,
sure.
that sort of says, here's the thing, here's why, you know, here's what we're trying to do with it. And
I mean, I'd have to look at the RFP again. What do you think that the difference would be? Like, what's in the RFP that,
I don't know that it would be much different than.
is it more just what we do with it internally?
You-
Right?
Question.
Do you have, you,
have it, but where?
I have a
is
hard
it?
copy somewhere, because I have it on,
Okay,
and I thought I sent it to everyone.
I'm sure I.
You
have
emailed it
there,
to
yeah.
us.
I did email it. Here is the draft.
And I don't think we spent a lot of time talking about the application, to be honest. It was like a copy and paste from something else. Is that right? Did
Well,
you
the-
do the draft RFP?
The application itself, there's not a form, we don't ask, the document that we have currently does not ask to fill out a form.
It does actually, there
It says, use the headings.
Oh, I see what you mean. It's not like open that you enter it. You have to answer the questions, but you can do it as a separate document.
Exactly.
Got it, okay.
Yeah, so, right.
So it's pretty,
And different
Information. Yeah.
different groups are going to have different proposals that look different,
right.
but the categories of information will be pretty much the same.
I mean, I don't know that we need the attestation, section 10.
Exactly. Certainly not.
COI, conflict of interest, I mean, I don't,
Yeah, resumes, like,
Within
I
the
don't think,
town.
right, yeah.
if you had a candidate, then a resume would be relevant, but like, we wouldn't need yours
It
or
would be
the
that.
school
it would be
leadership.
underneath me, right, me.
So I would say, yeah, section 9 and 8, 9, and 10 aren't relevant, but probably the rest of it. I don't know about management, because that's kind of, you know, maybe it's a sentence under section 7, entity responsible for fund management, type of account holding funds, who will have financial oversight. I mean, that's kind of a town process, but maybe there's a sentence or two there, you know. what other people think.
Yeah, I mean,
Otherwise, yeah, I would say
I can
everything.
certainly put something together that
Yeah.
kind of,
Section
it's not a
one
big,
through
Along those
it's not a
lines,
big
I,
deal.
one.
I think that we should have a uniform window for
Time window.
proposals.
Ideally, yes, although
Because
I would
I-
say take this as soon as
because-
you can.
Because this is basically, I mean, there's a very limited amount of money. And it's essentially a competitive grant request.
Doesn't have to be if it's within the municipality according to
They
the
don't have
state.
to-
Well, that's
When I
the
say
difference.
competitive,
Yeah.
when I say competitive, it's
For
competitive
private.
among the decision of us, of this committee, whether we recommend funding or not. That's the nature of the competition. There are some proposals that we may not feel are worth funding. And, or there are some proposals where we either want to fund with more than is requested or less, because we're dealing with a limited, very limited pot. And therefore, I think we should give all providers out there an equal chance, or at least a fair chance to compete for limited funds.
I would agree with non-town entities, we take them all together, because it's in a different category than town, because town has a budget cycle, and, you know, it's a kind of in-house.
I
Well,
mean, if there's another in-house, like if it's the police department and I, then that
Same
would make
thing,
sense
yeah.
to group us together, right?
that's the problem.
But,
It's a
yeah.
competitive, it's a
Well-
competitive situation, and unfortunately, I mean, I have a lot of experience reviewing grant proposals in the on the NIH study sections, and when people who are sitting on the review committee are applying for money, there's an inherent conflict of interest, and that's okay, but the committee gets to decide what we recommend.
Right, and the committee certainly can decide whether or not pot of money is going to go to the schools, right? Right? I'm saying we don't have to, you can, I mean, because it's
Predict
such
the
a
outcome.
local, right, this is such a this is not an NIH grant, this is not a Massachusetts state grant, right? This is because this is so localized in this town, in the context of this grant, you also can make that decision, because like the reality is, we're going to present in front of the Finance Committee on February 3rd. I would love to be able to say that we're in partnership, you know, for this position. I would love to be able to explain this to them, so that they understand that we're partnering together, and that 50% could come from our operating budget and 50% could come from the settlement funds, right? So it's a slightly different context, because we're really connected with local government and the local finances. We're not an outside organization,
Residents, too.
right?
I'm hearing about this proposal for the first time at this moment,
What,
We
What
talked
proposal?
about it at our
What
last
proposal?
meeting.
about funding.
Oh, we talked about it at our last meeting.
I don't recall, sorry.
Yeah, you wanted data. I got data for you. so-
I'll have to check
you
it out.
asked for data.
Yeah, we-
But I believe that there are other groups outside of this room who should be able to compete fairly for funding from this settlement fund. And to set aside money specifically for town functions, I think is not fair.
I mean, I guess it would depend on the town function, but to me, it is fair, given, you know, how much input we've gotten that talks about the need for increased services at schools from town residents. So it's sort of a no-brainer to prioritize a timely response to something that exactly addresses those concerns.
Well, I disagree, because we have to prioritize proposals.
I think this is a
And we haven't-
prioritization.
But we haven't received other proposals, so we can't prioritize.
But I don't
things
think
that
this is-
we haven't
We're not going to
received
lose
yet.
all our money, if you will, on, I mean, first of all, we don't know, haven't had a discussion, et cetera. And I understand the principle of what you're saying, and I wouldn't take an outside of town thing out of order, although there might be an exception. I think we actually have a lot of flexibility. If Star came in tomorrow with something that was timely, maybe we should consider it. It's our first year, we're like getting going, a lot of places have rolling processes. I don't think there's anything wrong with the rolling process, as long as you apply fair standards.
Well, I think that a fair standard would be that we announce an RFP, and we have a window during which we accept proposals, and we weigh them in committee before we recommend funding. And ultimately, the select board can do whatever it wants with the money. I mean, if it wants to fund a position in the schools or the police, it's up to them. But if they're asking for recommendation from the committee, I think that the process that we decided on from the beginning would be to entertain proposals, put out an RFP, entertain proposals, consider the proposals, and then make recommendations. And I think that this would, doing a timely funding would not be consistent with what we decided our mission would be.
I disagree. I guess we have to decide as a.
Yeah, I mean, since we seem to be sort of debating the case, if I sort of make the case of why it would make sense, I mean, the reality between us and the police, and I don't believe the police are putting together a proposal. I mean, this has been an active conversation since Donna and I first met. I don't believe there's anything coming in the works from the police because you guys partner with us anyway.
It'd be good to know, too, actually.
I have a meeting with my chief in a couple weeks.
Okay, I mean, I haven't heard anything, but, just the reality is that our school system, we touch 1,500 kids every single day, right? So understanding that, we have this 60 folks in SSTAR, we are touching, 1,500 kids a day. The Westport Police Department, as a local town organization, are touching everybody, every single day. So just that consideration alone may give you some reason to say a piece of this portion is going to go to the people who do the most public services with the town folks, and another chunk will be for that competitive RFP process. I think you also have that right. You could set aside a piece of that money for the people who touch who are touching families and kids every single day. And then the other part is for RFP. So if you wanted to think it like that, certainly just the numbers. I mean, I can tell you the amount of, I think I have some data for you while we're on it.
Okay.
We'll kind of move that issue just so you.
Did you hand out the data?
No, I just thought I would talk about it.
Okay.
I mean, just last year alone, there was 46, last year alone, there were 46, and this is a minimum, 46 office referrals or incident referrals for substance abuse issues with kids. And that was with 23 different students. That was just last year alone. And this is.
Excuse me, do you have the
I can
grade
send that to
level?
you.
The grade level?
I'll send it out to you. This would be 5 through 12,
Five.
where I pulled this one. Obviously, so we had alcohol 3, marijuana 25, tobacco 18. In addition to, now that's just me pulling from our office referral suspension discipline system. In addition, the student adjustment counselors, now this would be grades 9 through 12, are telling me that they've got about 25 parents with substance abuse problems, and students who self-disclose use of substance, another 21. Now, that's self-reporting, so these are minimum numbers, because there's a lot of people that we're not reaching, right? And so just that percentage that's like 6.5%, 6.56% of our kids are being impacted by this, either by themselves or by their parents, right? So, I mean, we've got the numbers in general. I don't know if any of these organizations that you've talked to so far that may be putting an RFP, if they're coming in to specifically service our students. If so, I'd be happy to talk to them, right? But I don't know if you have that kind of information yet, or you have any inclination that that may be coming. And if not, then that might be a good reason to just chunk your money. Here's a chunk that's going to go to the town departments, and here's the chunk that's going to outside organizations.
And there have been municipalities that have done that, that they've given a certain amount of money to the school system to focus on those particular needs. I don't know how they went through the process, but it was making a decision that this is going to the school department. And this is going, there, I think in Fall River they did, I don't know if it was initially 50,000 to the school department. No, it was more than that. And then there was a fund that was set up so that somebody would manage it. So if families had someone die and they wanted to request funds to pay for the funeral, they'd go to that entity. So they made a decision early on to do that. But again, I don't know what the process was. I don't believe they put out an RFP for that. They just made a decision.
Right.
And I think that's within our scope to do that, to make a decision like that. But I hear you, David. I think the idea of letting all the departments, all the interested parties know that this money is available and they can apply for it within town. Whether or not we have to post the RFP, we could try to do it within town and not do it outside. But again, we're hampered because I need administration to manage it, right? And that still isn't clear how that's going to work. It's very frustrating, right? But I hear you. I hear what you're saying. If I could vote now, would say I want to give this money to the school because it meets, it is ticked off so many bells from all the survey we've gotten so far. I think would be money well spent and well used, but I hear you're very focused on the process. I know that when Craig is here, he talks about the process. So I just don't want this to get lost because we can't, we're so focused on the process that the prize is right there in front of us, and we can't take the prize because of this process.
Well, I'm glad to hear some data from the school about substance abuse in the school. What I'm not hearing is any opioid use. And I understand that there are children whose parents are
Yes.
opioid users. So that could be an important thing. But I am not convinced that this opioid settlement funding should be used for teaching about marijuana use.
I beg to differ.
I understand that.
Because if you read the abatement agreement,
It
it
covers
says it-
all substance abuse.
it covers
And mental health.
not just substance abuse, but mental health. They give us a wider scope or range when we're dealing with children and adolescents. And that's where I feel very strongly that, yes, this is opioid settlement funds, but we want to prevent these kids from even thinking about using opioids. We want to enhance and enrich their lives to a place where they can cope without having to go to a substance. So this is one area that I'm really adamant about. It doesn't have to be focused on opioid because the abatement agreement says it doesn't have to be.
I think that there's a very wide umbrella that the abatement law covers, and it does include mental health. But I think that that's overly broad. I think that my personal feeling, and I may be outvoted, is that we should try and fund work that addresses opioid use specifically. because that's why the settlement money was given. And I think that the epidemiology of opioid abuse is such that there isn't a problem specifically for opioid use in that age group. And I understand that mental health is very, very important. I understand that non-opioid substance abuse is a very big problem. I understand that tobacco use is a big problem, and I understand that alcohol use is a big problem. But I don't think that opioid settlement funding should be used on non-opioid related work
Well, then-
until the proposals that address that specifically have been addressed.
I don't think it's actually up to us. I think the State Department of Public Health has already made that decision. So I don't even think we need to discuss it. Sort of, we may have different opinions about it, but that's what's in the abatement agreement.
And my concern with that would be also that if we just kind of go down that road and we be that isolated, then we're not talking about prevention. You're only talking about people who it's already impacting, right? Because we're not going to just prevent opioid, but it's okay to do X, Y, and Z. I mean, I know there's even some research on ADHD and addiction, right? There's a connection there. Kids with ADHD are much more likely to become addicted to all kinds of substances, whether it's video games, you name it, right? So if we go down that road, we don't fix the preventative part. And maybe this marijuana that we're seeing and the vaping, maybe those are signs that kids are beginning to cope in a negative way for, a lot of reasons. So, yes, I don't have fourth graders, thank God,
Oh, no, but
Right, on that. So that's why I would just be concerned that we wouldn't be preventative enough if we just focus on specific opioid use and not have it to be this broader impact of the things that lead to it.
Well, and I mean, part of the problem about the discussion that we're having now is that we haven't received any proposals from anyone outside of this room.
Right.
And I think that's the fundamental problem, because we don't know, as a committee, what the proper allocation of funds should be until we know who wants funding,
That's sort of the
other
cart driving the
than
horse.
people inside the room.
I mean, I see it differently, and as someone who led a small foundation and has done a lot of grant making, you start with your priorities. The priorities should come from the community and be informed by science, but that's what you want to fund. The details, and sometimes you might invite specific people because if you want to fund, migration issues, you're going to reach out to the organizations who do that. So in our case, this is almost the equivalent. We know the schools are dealing with issues that we want them to do, so we want to get that partnership going and healthy. We might get terrible things from the outside. We may get brilliant things, but I don't think it should determine how we make decisions. We may learn some things, hopefully, from what comes in, but what comes in should respond to the needs and priorities that the state has identified and then we've identified locally.
The problem, again, is we don't know what
But
the
why is that a
requests are going to
problem?
be. For instance, I'll give you a specific example. We don't know what STAR is going to request.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that STAR is servicing people with opioid use
Yeah,
disorder,
for sure.
which I think should be our main priority. And you may not think that's,
Well, I think
but that's why we're on the committee,
I don't
to
think
give our
there's
different
any reason that
opinions.
we would not fund STAR. STAR is probably next on my list to say, please send us something. So I don't disagree, I agree. But I don't think funding the schools put STAR at risk. And I think we can even have priorities, if we wanted to say, okay, which organizations are in the sweet spot of what we're hearing as priorities, and how can we go after them? We can even hold money, not necessarily for those specific organizations, but like for somebody who does these kinds of things.
But it's still going to come down to prioritizing, because there's only 300, it's gone up, right? It's now 340K,
And
something?
more will come.
Yeah, but it's going to be prioritizing, and we're going to have to rank.
For sure.
We're going to have to
But it could be
prioritize.
for 3
but
organizations.
I don't think that we should prioritize until we have a group. We shouldn't pre-prioritize. We should prioritize when we have some proposals before us, and we can carry out a proper study,
I hear
and then decide how to allocate the funding according to what we see as the proper
We
recommendation.
have 300, what thousand, I mean, maybe an alternate way to think about this that addresses all of these things is what Fran suggested. Like if we have, I don't remember the exact number, let's say 350 it is, you know, do we want to allocate, you know,
A certain percentage.
X for the town and X for community initiatives, you know, that come in? And we could, you know, the community initiatives could be for one organization, could be for 2, could be for 3, but, you know, and we can adjust. If we only get one proposal from the town, then we can shift. But we're holding resources without losing an opportunity. So what
Well, if you
works or doesn't work in
if you
that
take
scenario?
if you take the position of someone, let's say someone in town, who plans to make a proposal, and I'm making this up, but say there is someone, they are entitled to due consideration of their proposal, and they should be entitled to compete fairly with all other proposals.
I disagree. I don't think that's the right of every applicant. I think they have a right, every applicant is entitled to be considered fairly, but there's not one thing that makes it fair. Like, it's our job to be the deciders of priority.
Yes.
And, you know, and so to me, part of that is being responsible to opportunities and things that match our priorities. And it would be irresponsible to not respond. If Star came in tomorrow, I would do the same thing, frankly. If they said, we have a timely opportunity, we're asking you to consider this proposal. Now, I can't say black and white, I'd do the same thing, because that's more complicated. But it would be worth discussion, because we know they're in the sweet spot. If the police came in, our first responder program, we have this particular, you know, so, and it is our job to make those decisions, and I think we can be fair and flexible. Now, go ahead.
Well, I want to say that we don't make the decision.
Right, we can make the
The
recommendation.
select board makes the decision, and we can make the recommendation. So is there a motion to make a recommendation that the school be allocated some funds to, I mean, I'm trying to move past this debate, because we're debating, and I understand where you're coming from, David. I do. But I have a very strong feeling about, and it's based on what the need is, based on our surveys, based on what people say, that a position in the school department to address family, student issues around mental health and substance use. There can be a special piece in that to focus on opiates, but I think, knowing as I do, being a mental health professional, that it's not just one thing. And we can't focus on one thing. We have to look at the family as a system, the school as a system supporting the family, and then how, as a committee, do we allocate these funds to support all of that? So that hopefully in the future, these young people are not going to be in the position of needing to be in treatment. I'd rather do preventative than in treatment. But we balance the funds by addressing all those issues and maybe allocating some towards one thing and to another thing. And I like your idea of, we make a decision that we'd like to allocate funds to the school for a position. But that's just our recommendation, because the select board is the one that makes the decision. So we have this debate, and it's a great debate, but really the bottom line is it's not our decision, it's theirs.
course. Well, if the question were put to me, I'd like to see a proposal.
Okay.
I certainly can't make a recommendation or vote until I know what I'm voting for.
Well, I think just also some clarification in the way that this conversation is heading. Are you comfortable with saying, because how many residents are there in Westport? Like,
Oh, there's like 15,000?
right, so I have 1,500 kids, so this is about 9% of the population that we see at least 180 days a year, right? So are you comfortable saying that a portion of that money should go to school-aged children in Westport? Whether it's my proposal, somebody else's proposal, are you comfortable with that? Or is it that what we're saying as a committee is saying we are comfortable with allocating this particular amount, this portion of the settlement funds to the schools?
Probably all at different places. I mean, I realize, I don't think you were at the last meeting when we had your presentation. Is that correct?
No, because he asked
He was there.
questions.
Oh,
and she came up with their
I mean,
data.
we know there's a need, right? You know there's
Yeah.
tons of mental health issues, right? We know there's a need, but what I'm just trying to say is, are you all saying, thinking, right? Like, the fact that allocating to another town department does not have to go through the RFP process may be a way for you all to feel comfortable saying, we want a portion of this to go to the schools. Now, whether or not you approve what that is, it's just more, this is the allocation,
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
So we could not yet approve a specific proposal.
but approve an
say
allocation.
It is our intention to allocate a portion of resources to Westport Community Schools. You know, given the input
Yeah.
that we've seen, we would like to have a partnership and entertain a proposal, something along those lines.
Yeah, that and/or, right, you want to collect proposals, but you could collect proposals specific to the schools. That could be one portion of it,
You mean not necessarily from you, but just any.
if you wanted to. If you want to say, it's another idea. My goal here is to get the support to the children and the families, right? So it doesn't have to be my proposal, but as a committee, do we want to commit that is a proportion of the settlement will go to, and that's how we're prioritizing, because it's impacting over 9% of the population, probably more than that, because 1,500 is only the kids, right? It's because it's always the kids and the families, right? And that's one way that we, since we're not, again, the select board is making the final decision, but that we're preserving that allocation going to that use without having these, so it's not about the competing proposals anymore. It's just about, we know we need stuff to go here. As much.
Yeah, I can see that.
Might be politic to ask the town administrator, to ask the select board, to give you an allocation, so, or say you want to make an allocation.
Right.
Will they support that? Because it is their decision.
Right, it is their decision. It's always their decision. It's us trying to hash through stuff and then present it to them so that they can make a decision, an informed decision. So I certainly, which kind of segues us, Bob, to the next thing, which is the town administrator input, which has an effect on all of this, right? Because we've been kind of in limbo for a little while now. I did two things. Well, first of all, I have had informal, brief discussions with the town administrator at events in town. And so that, I made a connection with him. And then I sent him, when he first started working, I sent an email requesting a meeting to discuss the RFP. He did not respond, and I was not expecting him to right away because he just started. And he's got lots of stuff to take care of as a new administrator. I sent him the RFP, and he thanked me for that, and then he sent me a correspondence that I want to read. Because part of what in his input is also goes with who's going to manage the funds. So he had a meeting with Matt Armendo, the Board of Health director, and to discuss whether or not the Board of Health would manage the funds, and the proposal that the Board of Health had to do that. So he did respond to me when I sent him the RFP, that he had hired someone in the town of Dartmouth in a full-time position to manage the funds. And that person is not really needed for full-time. And he's suggesting that perhaps one of the things we can consider is doing a contract, an intermunicipal contract, to have that person do the management of the bookkeeping. And I'm not sure what else, because my response to him was, I need to know more about who this person is, what this person's credentials are, what they're doing in Dartmouth. So, but that's his proposal, rather than have the Board of Health be the manager of the funds, that we somehow have a contract with the town of Dartmouth to have that person do some of this work. So I don't have the details, but, so it, again, keeps us in limbo about who's going to manage the funds and how we're going to move forward with this. So based on that, he said he would keep me posted on the review of the RFP, and he was going to let me know before this meeting, but he wasn't able to get to that, so he didn't do that. So again, us moving forward with an RFP or with making decisions about whether or not we want departments to be able to have first dibs on the money, to do programs or whatever they want to do, I think that's, it makes it really hard for us to move forward until we have the administrative piece managed.
So I have an observation.
Yep.
If the town administrator drags his feet on the RFP issue, and we don't release the RFP, then time will go by, and the town will say, well, why don't we just give some of this to the schools, some of this to the police department, some of this to the fire department, and then we're done. And that would be fine.
I think so, no, I'm joking.
No, really, that's where we're going with this. And I think, and again, I think that would deny fairness to the potential applicants, and I think there will be complaints from the community about that. I think it's a non-transparent process then, and it's filled with conflicts of interest.
Okay.
So I think that we need to get the RFP out, and I think we need to get some proposals to consider.
Okay. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to send an email to the town administrator and ask him to post the RFP. And see what happens. Even though we don't have the other details. I'm going to have to add the dates and so forth and to make the changes on the RFP, but I'll send it to him and then say, we'd like you to post it. And then once it's posted,
Sure.
you do your thing.
Yeah, that's fine.
I mean,
Okay.
so moved.
So,
Why not?
well, I didn't know if I was asking for a vote on that, but do I need to ask for, okay, so
You got a
how?
motion, I'll second.
Okay. Well, what's the
Although,
motion for?
actually, let me
The meeting
back
to
up.
post
We
the
have two.
RFP?
With the edits as discussed.
With the edits as discussed. Okay. Got that, Bob?
Who was the second?
I was second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. All right, so let's move, so we're not staying too late. Member updates and reports. And Detective Donovan has a report for us.
So I passed out our stats and data for the year of 2025 compared to 2024. If you look at it, so this program that we use through the COSAP grant, which is unfortunately ending soon, it also includes mental health incidents. So I can say with confidence and with, I see these people that I go to see, the incidents that are logged as far as behavioral health events may not be opioid that week that's tracked. It's a behavioral health event.
Okay.
And then maybe, the next month, we might be going back for another overdose. So we're not just using the grant just for opioid stuff. It is for mental health, and these families go hand in hand, just as Dr. Roy was saying. They definitely do. So as far as, you can look at the stats. So we've had one fatal overdose. We had one in 2024 as well. Our non-fatal overdoses have actually gone down 43% in 2025. That's a whole nother discussion I'm not going to get into right now, but we're believing that it does have something to do with this program that we do in town, and also access to Narcan, which we go out to families and give. That's the first thing we do. We go and give them Narcan. That's why they're calling us. Behavioral health has increased by 15%. What I mean by that is police response. And then these at-risk clients that are referred by either police, school, people in the community, people that we encounter, it is going down, negative 29%. So overall, we've had like I said, a decrease in the overdoses and the opioid activity in town, but like I said, that's a whole other discussion as to why, and that's statewide, that's not just Westport. Yeah, so,
That's great news.
yeah, absolutely.
I had a question, let me see if I can, do you see the increase in police behavioral health visits? Is it a similar pool of people? Like, are people more often, like if they've built some trust, are they more likely to call for police response? Like if you already were there once for an overdose response? Or like, is there any analysis or overlap or a sense of, is it an increase in actual behavioral health events? Or that maybe combined with an increase in people being willing to call police because of this program or other reasons?
I can't speak based on the numbers themselves, you know what I mean? But I can say from my own personal experience that, being face-to-face with people on call, I mean, it's a little bit different. Like when you're in uniform and someone's calling you based on a 911 call, that's a totally different response, as opposed to when myself, the clinician, and Officer Chicka show up in plain clothes, when they're not expecting, when, things are calm at home. It is, we build rapport with people in town. It's a totally different response. So they are, like, I'll even get phone calls on my work phone or my desk from people just seeing if I can come check in on, their family that lives down the road, like something like that, or
It might not be
friends.
them only.
Right.
So it would be interesting to see analysis. I'm not asking you to do this right now, but I'm just sort of thinking about that, like what kind of social capital is built by the overdose responses that can play those out in other ways. But also, as you said, some of the behavioral health calls, if they are from, like how many of them are from families who you, like after you did an overdose follow-up plainclothes visit? Because obviously the problem isn't solved after that.
Right.
So do you find that at least some of the behavioral health calls are from families or households where you previously went with an overdose response visit?
So I guess what my point is, mental health and addiction go hand in hand.
Yeah.
That's really what my point was when I was discussing that.
It wasn't sequential, like you do the visit and then
No,
you
no.
might get
We're definitely,
calls from them.
Right, we're
You
having-
might, but it's all more mixed up than that.
yeah,
Okay.
it's a positive response as far as they're more apt to call us, kind of like what you said. They are more apt to call us because, we do have the resources right now that can help them with other things as well.
Great.
And you're still working with the FAST program, correct?
So their grant for the CARA grant was not funded for 2026. We just found out.
You're kidding.
Yeah, so we're kind of in limbo. That's why I have a meeting with my chief in a couple weeks to figure out what we're gonna do, because with both of the grants ending right now, at the same time, we're
Yeah.
kind of,
Yeah,
it's kind of a big thing for us,
is a big
so
thing.
Okay.
that is.
we're gonna be making a
I
plan.
feel like that's, again, something we need.
Yeah.
Like a kind of like whatever information about your timeline, the window.
Because we have the same budget schedule as
Budget,
Dr.
Right,
budget
right, we're-
needs,
yeah.
others,
Yeah.
yeah,
So,
right, same thing.
so looking at the RFP to come up with and start answering the, once we get it posted though, but to come up with a proposal for the funding.
The abatement law says that we can't use the money to backfill. So the problem would be, I mean, your work is very, very important. It may be necessary to, if there were to be a proposal, would to create a new position. You understand?
Right, right.
Yep,
So,
Right.
right.
and, I mean, this is a good example
Clinician
relative,
on staff,
you know, there's,
essentially, yeah, yeah,
for the town to lose her service,
right.
I think would be close to catastrophic.
Right, right.
Trying to figure out why the FAST team is not getting
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
kind of shocking.
opioid settlement funding.
Yeah,
But these may be different streams, like, I don't know the details, like
Yeah.
what went
Who
into
funds
this
that? Yeah.
program
Yeah.
versus.
yeah, the CARA program, I'm not sure what that stands.
That's what
for.
funded FAST to do this work?
Yeah,
Is that state?
I'm sure we have that in our
I don't know a lot
minutes from
about
their
this. This was just an email that was forwarded to me from the grant writer for the city of Fall River. I'm not sure the whole background to it. I was just told that
I'm sure
we
Nikki
will not
could
be able to
explain.
join the FAST team for 2026.
Bummer.
Yeah.
It is weird, though, because there's so much settlement fund money.
Well, the state
Wrap
has 60% of the funds, and the municipalities have 40, so, I mean, there has to be a way for them to apply for some of the state funding, especially with the history of what they've been doing.
Yeah.
The good work that they've been doing, so, all right, so that is very important information. And I'm going to relay, I'm going to send an email to the town manager and tell him about what our discussion is, and about we find out that there are two entities within town that may benefit from the funding, and we would like to move on this as soon as we can. So I'm very disappointed in that, because I love the FAST team folks. They were,
great.
they're really awesome.
Yeah. So, like I said, like I haven't had the full discussion with my chief yet, so I can't talk for him, but that is going to be part of my proposal, speaking with him. And he feels very strongly about the work that we do and
Sure,
Yeah.
this whole.
yeah.
Well, again,
program that
it's
we
close to
do.
home, it touches Westport residents
Yeah.
in need and crisis, you know.
Yep.
It's obviously having an impact, so it seems like, again, another logical priority to.
And I mean, I did send you the RFP. You can start looking at that and planning, and once it's posted, you guys would be ready to go. But I'm very upset about that now.
I know. I was bummed too.
Well, what a good thing we have this fund.
Yeah, we'll see.
I think I asked this before, what is your FTE?
Can you explain?
Full-time
Well,
equivalent.
everyone, you know, so if you have a full-time job, you're 100%
Yep.
FTE. So if you're getting partial funding for some of your time, I mean, you're on salary, right, not hourly, right?
So,
Overtime paid by the
it's
grant?
overtime, yep.
Oh, it's overtime?
overtime.
Okay,
And the clinician, so that, the clinician's time is paid, so you'd have to create a clinician position and then find a way to fund overtime for two officers or detectives, is that?
So it's myself and Officer Chicka, and then the clinician. There's been ideas floating around as far as, I'm not sure. I'd
Well, this-
like to have this discussion with my chief.
And this
or
may be
present
one
it.
of those
Yeah, yeah.
intermunicipal contracts, because we've talked about it before. Chief Dunn talked about hiring a social worker, or sharing it between municipalities. I don't know who this person is in Dartmouth. I don't know what her credentials are. So that it would maybe something that, depending on what her credentials are, may be able to tie in with helping the police department as well as the town and managing the fund. So I'm going to I will request a meeting as soon as possible with him so we can look at this as a possibility. But in the meantime, you all need to figure out how much money you're going to need, what your goals would be, and putting together whatever's in the RFP, so when it is posted, you can respond quickly. I'm so upset about this. They provided for, when you think about it, the FAST team they responded to crises, and they responded, and they worked with many different agencies to address substance use.
But I don't think they're still in existence.
Right, I'm
But
not
they
sure.
can't come here.
I don't think so I'm not sure what their status is in Fall River. All I know is that Westport and surrounding towns, that we were able to work under their umbrella, work directly with them, work with their services. We can't do that right now, as far as the
As far as
grant
the
that did,
responding,
Okay.
this CARA grant that I don't know anything about.
so maybe we need to hear from FAST again, or informally, if not at a.
She needs to update us.
We need an update from
So,
FAST.
But the work that you do it's overtime work? It's basically billed as overtime work?
Yes.
So you put in your hours?
Yep. So it's a automatic 4 hours when we go out, as far as, so the clinician gets paid for her commute time, so that's why it's a 4-hour block that we get paid for, and the clinician gets paid for it, and we don't pay overtime rates.
So then, if a proposal for the support for that might not be regarded as backfill.
right.
Right, well, also because we were benefiting from someone else's grant is the other difference. I mean, it's a little bit of a technical difference, but it wasn't a cut to us. And we didn't apply for a grant, or we're getting a grant that stopped. We were benefiting from the service, from being in the service area of someone else's grant. But it's a different thing to take it on ourselves. That's starting something new that we learned, we like, from this wonderful experience of benefiting from other people's grants.
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe one of the things that I can try to reach out to the FAST team to find out what's happening with them.
Yeah,
And
just in
then,
general. What services are still available? We understand their partnership, the ability to use their CARE grant to support the police's post-overdose response has ended. We just want to clarify what else is,
okay.
how are they, and what else is still available.
All right. So that's going to be on the next steps, but does anybody else have an update or report? Okay. So in the next steps, committee planning, I have, Fran will be working on getting the school survey out to the
parents.
to the parents. I would love to see students get one, or students answer it as well, because I like their perspective. I will be contacting the town administrator, asking for the RFP to be posted. I will have to go and I'll review it with, Val and I will just work on tweaking, make sure we have everything, all the changes that we talked about in the RFP, to get that posted, and also to meet with him to discuss how to move forward with this, and whether or not the intermunicipality municipal contract would meet a lot of our needs. But I need to know more, so. Okay, and Pam is going to go to,
I need the contact information for the meeting on
right, for
Wednesday.
she's going to make connections with the NA meeting.
And I can also give Jen Ferrera a call if you'd like me to.
That's great. Tell her I apologize. I haven't got-
No,
I'll loop back with you and.
So
get
that's
you up
at
to speed on our
Star.
last
Yep.
communication.
Calling Jen Pereira, okay?
I will follow up with Fran about
Yeah.
It's
getting
really cool.
AI's help
It's a
in
wonderful thing.
analyzing the kind of compendium of the different data sources. Thank you.
Okay. Are there any other next steps that I've missed?
Well, you said this just before, but not in the most recent, was to follow up with FAST.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I put that fast team
Okay.
contact, and I will follow up with them.
Try to get an update from.
Yeah, see what's happening with that, because that's a great service for our residents, and supporting the police and fire. I'm sorry that firefighter Bob's not here, Borowski's not here tonight, because I would like his input as well into the needs in the fire department, so. All right, are there any other topics?
I have a question. I don't know if this is a motion or if we are even at this point yet, given the late moment, but I just wonder if it's useful for both the police and the schools in upcoming budget meetings for us to say something, I'm not sure what we could all agree on, but, that the committee, prioritizes, the overdose response program, something like, while we are not prepared, we haven't yet received proposals, we're not prepared to decide, we want to communicate to
Yeah,
the budget,
support, yeah.
committee that we are, that the overdose response program and schools' efforts around student
Yeah.
mental health, substance use.
Prevention.
And prevention are priorities for the committee, and we look forward to working together more, on the details.
Okay.
Would it be helpful to have a motion that you could go to the committee and say something like that?
Yeah, let me talk to my business manager. This is obviously my first year through our budget process. I know we're presenting at FinCom, but yes,
I mean,
like a
is there any
letter of
harm?
support
Or even
is to
just a
say.
motion, essentially, that.
Yeah, we're not approving.
But let me just speak to because she knows sort of the
But
ins
we
and
won't
outs.
be able, if we don't
won't
do
be
it
able
now,
to.
we can't do
Okay.
it until February.
All right, then say
13th,
yes.
right?
So what is your motion?
Okay, I'll try this. All right, I move that the committee express support for the work of the Westport Police in their overdose response program, and the schools for their work, developing work
Or for student support,
for student
enhancement of student support.
mental health,
Yeah,
prevention, and substance misuse.
right. The use of funds to
Yes,
enhance.
we are. We cannot commit funds at this moment. We are engaged, maybe that's not helpful to say. Scratch that, just maybe period.
Bob, did you get that?
He was trying.
Did you scratch that?
I don't know, maybe there's something that looking forward, like, we look forward to working with these departments.
Yeah, to
move
consider, right,
forward.
ways that can,
Consider
yeah,
how we can support.
which is
work.
true, which is all valid.
Is that fair?
Yeah,
I don't know
Okay,
what Bob got in that motion.
We look forward to working with these departments to see how we can support this work, was the second part.
I think that part's fair. I can't speak for my chief because I'm not the one doing his budget and I don't know anything that goes into that, so I don't want to.
I don't think it's
Say the wrong
controversial,
thing for him.
except It's
For
more
his
like
budget.
the committee agreeing, it's fairly, it's just saying, we want to put on record that your work is important in these areas. We're looking forward to figuring out how we can support it continuing.
That's fair.
yeah.
Did you, Bob, did you get that?
Seconded.
Okay, second. David, second.
I would put it as the committee expresses support for the Westport Police Department's FAST program, the school department plans to seek funding for.
A little different, because we don't want to, I would say the police department's overdose response.
We really need to make a precise.
Okay, let me try
Well,
to
that-
write it then.
Yeah, the fast
FAST
team
is
is not,
gone.
it's
No,
not part of
isn't
the
it
police
COSUP?
department.
So that's it,
That's what's
that's the
gone.
grant that's
It's all
ending.
gone. We are supporting the.
Overdose
the-
outreach.
The police department's outreach after overdose program.
Outreach program, yeah.
Or the Westport Police post-overdose outreach program. Is that good?
Yes, yep.
We support, and the Westport Community Schools.
Proposal for a student support coordinator. That's what I called it. I have it in the budget.
Student
Proposal
support coordinator.
Okay, that's more specific than I said. I'm
Yes,
fine with that.
right.
And the committee? good
That's
with
the
that?
proposal.
I'm
Or you
not
wanna be
willing to
more
support a
general?
specific, I'm
Because
sorry.
it's like a specific proposal then? So that's why if I'm
Well,
keeping
I
it-
mean, that's how, when I go to FinCom
Right.
right now.
That's what you're
And
talking about.
there's an understanding that I am presenting that, I will be presenting that proposal, or I have
Right.
to you guys, and you will make a
Discussed it.
decision on that.
Right.
So
Can we
you're not
say-
saying you agree to it.
No.
What if we-
You could call it enhanced student
We
support
support
services.
your work to enhance student support services.
Services, that's fine, yeah.
Okay.
That's
Westford
one way
Community
of doing it.
Schools Work to enhance student
Support
Support.
services.
services and look forward to working together. I want to say support again, to,
I just want to make sure that Bob gets.
I'm writing this
The
so that
particular.
I can bring it over and show him, because it sounded like there was a disconnect, so that's why I was trying to
Okay.
write it.
Okay. Well, it was a little confusing, that's why I asked him.
It
if
is,
he-
'cause we're kind
if
of
he- If
crafting
he
as
was
we
able
go.
to get that. It's basically to say that we're supporting our departments that are currently working on any substance use and mental health services in the police department and the school department. We're supporting them in their efforts, but we haven't made a commitment for finances. So, and Bob is doodling over there now, so. So we had a motion and we had a second.
Why don't I
David
can I reread it, just to make sure everybody is still, because I think, again, Bob is right, to do it precisely, we need to have people actually agree to the words
Okay.
here. Okay, I move that we stay that, we as the blah, blah, blah committee support the Westport Police Department's post-overdose outreach program and the Westport Community Schools work to enhance student support services and look forward to working together to strengthen this work.
Okay,
Second.
Second.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, so it's passed. There was not making any commitment to funds. It was basically expressing support for the work that's being done and enhancing the work that's being done in our town for mental health and substance use. Okay, so next steps, we've talked about next steps. You all have stuff to work on. David, do you have anything to work on?
No, and I have plenty of free time,
What would you like to work on?
getting the RFP out.
I knew he was going to.
You can spend some quality time with our new administrator.
You can reach out to him as well, and if you get a response, I would meet with you too. Meet
On
with
your
the two of
behalf,
you.
you want me to do that?
Yeah,
on
you
your
can,
behalf?
maybe coming from somebody else too on the committee would be helpful. So yeah, why don't you reach out as well? And I will reach out, and then we'll ask them to, hopefully, we'll sandwich them.
So we need permission from him to post the RFP.
Somebody's going to post it. Who's going to post it? The town administrator.
Okay.
So he has to agree to post it.
Fine. But you have the permission of the select board already, don't you?
Right, but then somebody's got to do it.
Okay.
Do we need a formal motion that we want to post the RFP?
We just did, we
You've
already
Did we
did that.
vote
We voted for that. It's okay, Val.
It's been a
That
long
commute
meeting.
down here was really hard on you. Yeah, we did. We already voted. We already voted for that, and you and I have to tweak.
Yes,
to
yes, I
make
knew we
the-
had it as an action
Right.
item, but I.
Yes, so we're all set with that. All right, so All right, so those are the next steps. We're going to move on to topics not reasonably anticipated 48 hours in advance. Are there any? I don't think so. So the next meeting is set for February 17th. Is that St. Patrick's Day?
No, that's March.
Oh, that's right. I'm jumping ahead, I'm
I think
thinking.
it's school vacation week, is it?
I'm not going anywhere, so I'm around.
All right,
I'm
so that.
away the
but
week before
It's the
for
third, it's the third Tuesday of the month is the 17th. All right, so if there's no further business, I'd like a motion to adjourn.
Can I just make an informal request or suggestion that our town colleague, if you have timely relevant developments in your kind of processes, or to let the chair at least know, and it seems like, you know, it would be good to be plugged into
What's happening?
what's happening, and even come into the next meeting knowing something. There might be, yeah, that's all.
Okay, sure.
Okay,
Dawn, if President's Day is on the Monday, there won't be a conflict with us getting the room on the Tuesday, would there?
there shouldn't be.
Select board.
There shouldn't be. If there is, I will let you know in a week, when I find out if there's a conflict.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, after delaying things, I will move that we adjourn. And-
Okay, second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Right, thank you, everybody.